What's up, Minimal fam? I have just hit 1 million views on this channel, and to celebrate, I am doing another Q&A with an ultra extreme minimalist. Thank you so much to everyone who not only contributed such awesome and unique questions, but also thank you to everyone who just showed such incredible support and well wishes for this milestone, and to everyone that's been here, whether you've been here a day or a month or since the beginning. Thank you everyone for sharing this journey with me and for just being generally awesome people. It's such a positive group, and everyone's from all over the world and we're all different, but we've connected in a really cool way. So thank you for being part of the community here. And hopefully these questions today will give you a little bit more insight on who I am as a person, the big weirdo that I am that you've been hanging out with for the past 9 months, and or give you some insight into the minimalist lifestyle that I'm living that will hopefully help you on your own minimalist journey. So without further ado, let's get to it. I have 15 questions for you today. They are from you, my community here, and I'm going to answer them for you right now. Number one, sorry, I do have to do a side note. I'm always interrupting myself, but I got a new journal. For those of you that know me, you know I only have one journal in my house at a time, and that is the only paper I keep in my house. And I did recently just finish my other journal. It was a monumental event, so this is the new beauty. It's still that same, what is it called? Paper blanks. I love them. They make really gorgeous pieces of art. So this is the new beauty. And so far we've been getting along well together. So anyway, I just had to announce that for you. Number one, here we go. My favorite musicians / novels besides Dune, because you all know that I'm a huge Dune nerd and I've talked about Dune like 800 times on this channel. Definitely musicians. It depends a lot on my mood or what I'm doing. I've said before on my iTunes playlist, there's everything from Beethoven to 9 Inch Nails and everything in between. When I'm at home and just chilling and listening to music after dinner, because as you all know, or most of you know, I don't have a TV, so after dinner, silence and music is how I party. But after dinner vibes is usually a lot of just meditative type music, in which case I'll just put on like a sound bath playlist or something, and there's no like, I don't have like a favorite sound bath artist. Or I have just a really eclectic playlist of a lot of different artists that do sort of ambient, just chillax type music, really beautiful music. But my favorite composer, I would say, is absolutely Hans Zimmer. He is a god. I love everything he has ever composed. It just touches my soul in a really deep way. And a lot of it has just so much depth to it, a lot of darkness to it, but beauty and feeling. And I really can't think of any music he's composed that I don't like. So I will geek out on Hans Zimmer movie scores a lot. Obviously Dune, but like Interstellar or Gladiator or Inception or what was the other one? Oh, there's so many, I can't name them all. But I absolutely adore his music, and I will just go on like a sort of emotional journey when I listen to that. But if I'm like driving in my car and jamming out, I love like old school electronica music like Deadmau5, Avicii, David Guetta, Calvin Harris, those type of vibes. But that's like, I'll never just sit and listen to that at home. That's like if I'm doing a power drive or a like workout type situation. If I'm on a road trip and I want to just like go on a journey and I'm like jamming through the mountains or the desert, I listen to a lot of playlists from on SoundCloud from Burning Man. Specifically, there's a camp called Robot Heart. It's a ridiculous sound card, but their vibes I resonate with, and there's a lot of different DJs that I like, but those are kind of the vibes that I'll go to. And as far as like favorite artists of all time, definitely Heilung is like, you may or may not have heard me mention Heilung before. They are deeply connected to my soul, and that's top tier for me. Oh, that's another thing, like after dinner vibes, if I'm not listening to like Hans Zimmer movie scores or sound baths, I'm listening to like other Nordic shamanic Viking type music like Wardruna or Donheim, groups like that. So I'm all over the place. But other artists I love, I mean, again, it just depends on my mood. I also, if I'm like doing a workout or just like kind of in like vibing mode, getting stuff done, cleaning my house, I'll listen to like a lot of 90s alt rock, like Pearl Jam. Eddie Vedder is probably my favorite male vocalist of all time, or Smashing Pumpkins, Live, Bush, Alanis Morissette, all of those type of 90s alt rock, grunge rock. That's definitely, I would say, like my other favorite genre. Novels, besides Dune, biggest nerd for that book. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, and then outside of like fiction type context, The Four Agreements and The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And yeah, I would say those ones. Moving on, question numero 2. Which type of my videos get the most views? This one's pretty obvious. Anything minimalism, or if I'm doing a declutter, that definitely perks people's ears up. This is a minimalism focused channel, but as you've hung out with me before, you know minimalism extends as a philosophy for really all areas of my life. But the ones that definitely get the most traction are, I mean, my home tour vid, that's my most viewed video ever. Things where I've done moving type stuff or big declutters. People love to see that because I think it helps them on their own journey of simplification. And those tend to be my more like technical videos, if you will, where I'm just sort of like explaining something or showing something. But I know in my journey of minimalism, when I really started delving into this 10 years ago, those are the types of videos that I needed to see too, because it's almost like a how-to or just a living example of, oh, okay, I could do this in this way, or declutter in this way, or don't necessarily need to have this thing, and it sort of like puts a light bulb off or like helps you on your own journey. So I'm happy that those videos do get traction and do well. The ones that get less views are sort of when I delve into kind of more sometimes personal stories or philosophical type things, and that's totally okay. I do those videos because it's what my heart wants to express in that moment, and I know it probably won't get as many views, but that's okay. I'm not like a PhD philosopher or like something like that. So it's just me sort of like sharing thoughts and ideas, and it's okay that those videos don't get as much views because I'm like, it's what I want to express as a creative in that moment. And even if they get a couple views, but people are like, oh wow, that was really helpful to hear that and connect on that subject, then I know it was still worth it. I've mentioned this, I think, in the last video I posted. I'm not going to just dance and do tricks for the algorithm always. I'm going to express what I want to express in each video, and sometimes it'll get a lot of views, sometimes it won't, but that's the game of being here, and it's totally okay. Number 3, how do I deal with the, can't read my writing here. How did I deal with the urge to replace items at the beginning of my minimalism journey? Definitely by just practicing social awareness. I think it's like anything, whether you're learning an instrument or a new sport or a new skill, it takes practice and awareness. And I'm just catching myself in that loop of the old habit of, oh, I'm bored, so I'll go to a store or start scrolling online, or just fantasizing the itch, and like all of a sudden getting that urge and that impulse of, oh my God, I need this type of purse to be complete, like stupid thoughts like that. Those definitely showed up more in the beginning, and it just became a practice of catching myself of, oh, I'm in that loop again. I'm in the hungry ghost, the hungry hippo mode of, I'm feeling lack and unfulfilled, so let's go shopping to try and make myself feel better. And the more I caught myself doing it, the more I just made the connection of, oh, no, I don't really need or even want this thing. I'm just trying to fill a void right now. And so the more I would catch myself in that, I would force myself sort of in those moments to take a step back and not indulge, and just make the connection and realize of, oh, this isn't even about shopping right now. This is about filling a void as a human. And I need to look at other deeper things in my life, like the job I'm in that is not really serving me right now, or the maybe sort of relationships that need certain attention, or my physical health that needs certain attention. And so the more I put that into practice, the more I would catch myself in those urges, and then those urges started losing power. I would just sort of watch it like it was like a muscle twitch and be like, oh no, I'm not gonna follow that thread. And it eventually faded away. And in tandem with that, it was always holding sight of my goal. My goal was, and still is, full-time travel, living out of a backpack. And prior to that, when I first started this journey and just had so much stuff, the goal was to just not have so much stuff. And each time I would declutter and let go of this giant pile of just ridiculousness, I would feel so relieving and so light and so happy and so much better that that became sort of shopping would be counterproductive to that feeling. I knew, like, okay, I just felt so much better letting go of all this stuff, so why would I go get more stuff? Because then I'm back where I was when I started. And whereas initially my goal couldn't have been to travel full time out of a backpack 10 years ago, but the goal to be able to just move by myself, the goal to be able to do it in a couple car loads and without a moving truck, that eventually was possible. And then the goal to fit everything I owned in my car, that eventually became possible. And that is so freeing and liberating to me that now I don't associate shopping and acquiring new things with joy. I think this is a Tony Robbins thing. I talked about this in how I got off of coffee. The way to stop any addiction is to stop associating pleasure with it and start associating pain, because as humans, we're wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And whereas in years and years ago, I used to associate shopping with pleasure, now I associate it with pain. Is a strong word. Like, it doesn't pain me to go shopping, but I certainly have no interest in it. And the idea of having too much stuff in my house, that definitely is pain. So it's been rewired in my brain to just really have no desire to go shopping at all. And yes, it did take a couple years to get there, but I think initially, yes, just in those moments at the beginning when you do these big declutters, but you're used to shopping, keep in mind, your goals. What is your big picture goal? Do you want to be able to move by yourself, or travel full time, or just have way more money in the bank and not be stressed about your finances, or just have less things to take care of, or just be able to be happy and fulfilled and content? Whatever your goals are, keep those in mind. And then also, when you do have that itch to buy something, maybe take a step back and look inside and like, well, why do I feel this void? Why do I feel this sense of lack right now? And you'll very often find it's not because you really need a pair of new jeans that the same brand Kim Kardashian was wearing, or whatever celebrity. It's because you're feeling a little insecure and not good about your life. And so maybe you can do some other things to address that rather than just buying a new pair of jeans. Number 4, if I travel, would I meet up with any of my subscribers? Yeah, totally. I've mentioned I'm not like a hyper social person, but I'm not like I think there's so many awesome people that want to connect here, and where I wouldn't be one to organize like an Explorivore gathering where 1,000 people or whoever wants to show up, just because that's not, I don't throw birthday parties for myself. I don't even want a wedding. I want to like elope on the cliffs of Scotland or something. It's just not my jam. But if I were like, say, traveling in a country in Europe and made a video about it, and someone said, hey, I'm in this town too, do you want to grab a tea or some vegan burgers or whatever? I'd be like, yeah, totally. And you have to take certain safety precautions, I think, into account, but I do like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I wouldn't say like, hey, let's meet at midnight in an alley. Like, it'd be like, but going to tea at a public place in a city, like, I think that's a fine thing to do. And it would be awesome to connect with people. And I actually, Jen, if you're watching, hello. I did meet someone, we ran into each other in like a grocery store here in San Diego, and she's like, oh my God, Explorer. And we talked for a few minutes, and it was totally awesome to be able to meet and connect someone in 3D human space. So yeah, I'm totally open to that. Number 5, what was my most difficult item to declutter, and how do I feel about it now? Ooh, I absolutely know what this one is. So you've probably heard me talk about, and I actually just did a video talking about how I was a competitive synchronized swimmer and a performing artist and then a teacher and choreographer for like so many years of my life, and actually just got rid of my training cap and goggles finally because I came to terms with the fact that I hate getting in the water and don't want to do it anymore. But the hardest thing I've ever actually decluttered is from that realm as well. So when I was a competitive synchronized swimmer, I made the United States national team, and they give you, when you make the US team, you get all of like your USA tracksuits, and it says like USA Synchro National Team on the front, and then the big USA letters on the back, and you get like t-shirts and tracksuits and a bag, and the ultimate like rite of passage, if you will, is you get your USA parka. For anyone that doesn't know the swimming world, swimming is cold. You're always cold, especially I train in the Bay Area. It's outside, it'd be like 30 degrees and raining. And then at swim meets, you're in and out of the water in between training sessions or in between warm up and the actual competition. You're just always cold and you want to try and stay as warm as possible. So in the swimming world, doesn't matter what time of year it is, you have a parka on essentially. And when you make the United States national team, you get your USA parka. And for me, because making the US team was such a big deal for me and such a huge goal, it's why I left home at age 16 and put in so many hours of blood, sweat, and tears in the water. Getting my USA parka was like the biggest deal in the world to me, and I lived in that thing. I was just so proud of being able to accomplish that. And yeah, I felt like a badass wearing it, and it was functional. It kept me warm because even after I retired from competition, I wore that in my years in the show in Las Vegas, because there'd be days the theater was really cold and we had like a 12-hour day of rehearsals and then shows, and in between I'm sitting in a wet towel, I've got my parka on. And then after that, when I was a teacher and choreographer, I was at the pool again, but now standing on deck in the rain and coaching in the cold winters for hours, so my parka would be on then. So I had that thing from, I made my first national team in 2004, and then I retired from coaching in 2022. So 18 years about. That is a long time to have anything, but especially something that's so special. And I used it all the time, like summertime, okay, a little bit less, but it was very, very used and very loved and very meaningful to me. But it got to a point as I was retiring from teaching and wanting to create space for something new in my life and just not wanting to wear it anymore. Like, it felt silly. I did feel like, I mentioned this in my other video, the Uncle Rico and Napoleon Dynamite. Like, I was still like, yeah, I got my USA parka on, but like, bro, I had retired from the team in 2007, and it was like, it's a long time ago. And sometimes it was funny, I'd be wearing it in public and like to the grocery store or something when it's raining, and I would get like catcalls, but like in a making fun of me kind of way, with people like, USA, USA, because they think I'm just being like hyper patriot, or maybe I like someone gave it to me and I'm fangirling, or just like you know how you see like elderly people in America will wear like USA jackets on 4th of July, like that type of thing. But I would never stop people and say, oh no, I'm wearing this because I'm on the US national team. Well, I was, and it was just kind of like silly. Like, people would, I would get made fun of a little bit because people didn't know, but it wasn't appropriate to stop and say, well, actually I earned this. Like, it's just silly. So I stopped wanting to have it in my life, and I gave it to one of my students who was, I was working with, and she wanted to make the US national team. And so I surprised her, and I gave it to her, and she was really, really excited about me. But it took about like a year of marinating on letting it go, because it was so meaningful to me. And I would like put it in the trunk of my car and say, no, I don't need this, and then decide to give it away, and then be like, oh my gosh, no, I have to keep this. And it was like this back and forth, almost of like when you're like trying to get out of a relationship, and it's like this, we're on again, off again, on again, off again. I like really had a hard time committing to let it go. But then finally it was like, it was this spiritual declaration of, okay, this was a huge chunk of my life, but I am not doing this anymore. And I desperately want new things in my life. And I want to give this to someone who it is part of their life. So giving that to my student who was aspiring to make the US team, she was over the moon to have it. And it was really special for her. And I cried actually after I gave it away, but then it was really, really liberating, and it absolutely felt like the right thing. And now, a few years later, Do I miss it or regret that I gave it away? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't have, I don't teach anymore, and I wouldn't just wear that out in the world. And I'm glad I was able to pass it on to someone that will use it. And it definitely has, I think, energetically created space for new things to come into my life. So even though it was a super hard to declutter, do I regret it? Absolutely not. Number 6, advice I would give to an person who has ADHD, who impulse buys for dopamine and can't stop. This is a really powerful question, I think, and a very unique and focused question. So thank you. I believe, or I don't want to disclose your name if you don't want to, but thank you to the person who provided this for me. As a teacher, I worked with many kids with ADD and ADHD over the years, and this is a whole other video I'll get to, but I think we sort of label this as a disability on people when I think we should reconfigure how we see it. Brains are wired so differently, and everyone has different learning styles, and 10 out of 10 times my kids who were given this label of ADD or ADHD, they were always my most creative students. They are always the best soloists. They were always the best at coming up with choreography. They were always the best with performing, but they tanked at math or had a little trouble staying organized. And it's just different wirings, but that doesn't mean you're any less capable or intelligent. It just means your brain's wired differently, but the modern school system tends to only cater to one type of brain that can just, say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and regurgitate information. But that's a whole other video I may or may not make. But as far as with shopping habits specifically and the dopamine kick and that sort of addictive thing, the thing I would say to that is it actually is counterproductive to the effect you're wanting it to have, because when you are following that with any addiction, really, whether it's a substance or a behavioral type thing, or a relationship, when you're following those things, that dopamine kick to what you think is alleviating your ADHD symptoms, because you're getting that high and, oh, okay, now I feel better, that addiction and that dopamine behavior are actually going to make your attention span worse. And I think this goes for anyone, not people that would just have that specific diagnosis. In the day and age of TikTok and endless social media streams and just content coming out the wazoo, your attention, everyone's attention is being pulled in a million different directions, and your dopamine levels are just getting, we're all addicts in certain ways to these modern fixations that we have in society. So when you're constantly chasing that dopamine high and getting it, that's actually ruining your ability to focus and concentrate and just be. And it may provide temporary alleviation, but because you're feeding that addiction to get something and get a high, your ability to just be is really diminished. And you'll notice that, like, when you're just scrolling on Instagram, why, find the next post, get the next like, or no, this video doesn't have my attention in 3 seconds, so I'm going to scroll and find the next thing. Or, oh, I'm going to buy this new shirt. Oh, that didn't fill the void. Now I'm going to buy this. And so when you're constantly in that dopamine cycle, it's very, very difficult to just relax and be. So what I would say is initially try to be very stringent and cut the cord of the behaviors, and that'll take some effort. It's not going to just fall away naturally, and it will have a lot of discomfort to just stop yourself and say, you know what, no, I'm not going to go shopping. No, I'm not going to go scroll on whatever online shopping site right now. No, I'm not going to binge watch 30 videos right now. And I'm just going to sit in this discomfort, and it will suck at the beginning, and it will feel very uncomfortable, and it may feel not even possible. But again, like anything, it is a practice, as I was mentioning earlier, and the more you do it and the more you sit with it, it's actually extremely empowering to see all those temptations show up, but not follow that thread. And I think I mentioned this in my How I Quit Coffee video as well. There's this phenomenon in nature called hormesis, where in order for certain types of plants to grow, they have to be put under stress. And I think that's a principle we can take on as humans. So rather than just give into the dopamine kick and give into your addictions and say, well, it's because I have this condition that I need to do this, you're actually a lot stronger than you think. And if you say no in those moments, each time you say no and just are able to be okay with yourself and not be grabbing on the outside for something, it will reconfigure your brain, and it will reconfigure your self-confidence and empowerment in yourself of like, oh, I don't actually need to fall into those traps, and I'm actually fully 100% capable of not following those temptations and standing in my integrity and standing in my goals and values and strengthening my mind and my habits to be more in alignment with how I want to be in the world, if that makes sense, hopefully. Number 7. Am I enjoying my new home, and is it easier or harder than my other smaller space? 1,000,000,000% happy here. I love it so much. And 1,000,000,000%, that's a technical measurement, by the way. 1,000,000,000%, it actually is easier. It is about 150 square feet bigger. My other place was 400. This one's about 550. I think I remember that. But despite it being bigger, it's way easier to take care of, because my other place, on top of the mold situation and constantly trying to clean that off and combat that and deal with the physical repercussions of that, I do not have bugs. That other place was on the first floor and in an older home and built into like the side of a hill. So I was like Steve Irwin. I had this special jar and like little cardboard I kept in my kitchen to trap all the bugs, because killing bugs is mean. Don't do that. It's not nice. It's bullying. That doesn't mean I wanted to live with all these bugs either. So I would say at least like 2 to 3 times a day, every day, I was trapping some sort of like prehistoric ass looking bug with like centipedes and millipedes and things I don't even know what they were, and loads of spiders, and luckily nothing that really bit, but just creepy crawlies all over the place. I was constantly taking those, trapping them and taking them outside. And then being on the first floor, or being built into that side hill thing as well, it was very dusty. So a lot of dust and dirt from the street would come in. So I was constantly cleaning that, and it was much older. So just older appliances, older countertops, those things are harder to keep clean as well, because they just get grimier. And then also it was freezing in there. It was because it faced east and it was right on the coast and built kind of on that side hill thing. I got morning light from about 9 to 10, that's it, but it was often foggy because I was on the coast. So it was very often colder inside than it was outside. And I run cold in general, so I was like bundled up all the time, even in the summertime, to be inside there. And I do not miss that. So now I'm on the 3rd floor. I get plenty of light. I have no mold, no dust, no bugs everywhere. I haven't had to pull a single bug out of this place in 3 months. And it's just, then all the appliances are newer, so it's easier. Like everything is just easier, and it's a little bit bigger, but still when I do my deep clean of this place, it takes me like 30 minutes. Like it's not a big deal. So 1,000% happier here and enjoying it and enjoying the ease of it. Number 8, why am I so drawn to Scandinavian and Viking culture? A few reasons. I think one, I grew up in Canada, so I mean, living at the beach in California feels like the furthest thing in the world away from Viking culture. But growing up in Canada, it was extremely cold and very Nordic vibes. I even did get to see the Northern Lights in the wintertime, which was amazing. I lived in Edmonton, so that's, I think, the northernmost major city in North America. We would get like -30 in the wintertime, loads of snow, months and months of snow, and really dark days in the wintertime. And so that sort of just the environment wise, I feel that connection to it. But also two other main reasons are, yes, I know Vikings have been associated with like the berserkers and the pillaging and the raids and the violence, and that was probably there. How much, we'll never know. I mean, it's history, but unfortunately violence is a part of a lot of cultures, but that's not why I feel drawn to it. It's the energy of the explorers. Vikings, a lot of people don't know, they were actually preceded Christopher Columbus in finding North America. They landed in Newfoundland, Canada. They made a little site called Vinland. They didn't stay for very long, and yes, there were violent contacts with First Nations, because they were like, hey, this is our land, rightfully so. But just the bravery, the audacity to get on a wooden ship and go across and not know if you're going to make it to any kind of other side, and just desire to see what the world has to offer, like that resonates with me so much. That's one of the reasons my title here is called Explorivore. But just that bravery to go and see the world and see all the magic that's out there, I resonate with that strongly. And then also a deeper side of Viking culture a lot of people don't know about is that the Nordic shamanism that was highly prevalent, that preceded Christianity, kind of found its way into Viking culture in later years, but originally they were very pagan and had a very deeply animistic culture and belief system, which animism is believing that there is a sort of soul life living being behind in everything, not just humans and animals on the planet, but like in rocks or in rivers and in trees and bees, all of it. There's the beingness to everything. And that actually resonates with me very strongly because that's how I felt since I was a little kid. And I think if more of us had adopted sort of at least the respect and reverence of the environment in that way, we wouldn't be depleting our resources in the way that we are. And there very much was, as with many ancient cultures, there was a lot more of a practice of take only what you need resource-wise and have deep reverence and respect for whatever it is that you're consuming and know that there's a life force behind that. That also really resonates with me as well. So hopefully that explains my Viking obsession. But oh, there is one other thing, and this might be a little too woo-woo for some people, but I'm not certain on past lives. Like, the only thing I don't know is I don't know anything. But I believe in the possibility of it. Like, who the heck knows what's going on here? Life is the whole universe. Like, it's so beyond our comprehension. But I feel very strong connections to certain time periods where I'm like, yeah, I think I could have lived that. Like, it just feels like home in a certain way. And the whole Viking culture and period definitely feels like that to me. The two other periods I feel really strong connections to are ancient Rome and then, ancient Greece. Ancient Rome kind of like took all the culture from ancient Greece, so they're very intertwined, but ancient Greece and then also like the frontier years of America, like those first kind of settler years, like 1700s. Okay, moving on. Advice for others going against the grain and how to deal with hate. The Winnie the Pooh quote, "Those who matter don't mind, those who mind don't matter." My closest friends and family will be there for me no matter what. And my friends are all sort of, my closest friends, actually, none of them are vegan or minimalist, but they're down to earth people that are awesome. And we have a soul connection, not because we're all exactly the same, but because there's a soul connection there, and that will be there no matter what. And they will always love me for however I'm living my life. And my family, I'm pretty different from as well, but I'm blessed to have a really great family that will always love me and be there for me no matter what, even though they think I'm a little cuckoo sometimes for my extreme minimalism. I'm blessed to have that core of people in my life that will be there for me no matter what. And people outside of that have any kind of judgment on how I'm living really just have no credibility. Like, if you don't really love me or care about me or respect me, if you want to spew hate at me, like, that's your issue, that's your drama. Like, they just don't have credibility in my mind. And on top of that, because I spend so much time alone, I'm blessed to have this core amazing friends and family, but I'm not around them all day, every day. My family, none of them live in San Diego. They're scattered all over the country, and they all have their own journeys and lives and families to take care of. And my friends, I've mentioned, I'm not hypersocial because my job is so socially draining. I need a lot of alone time to recharge. I do spend so much time alone and am as self-reliant as possible. So if someone has something to say about how I'm living my life, I'm like, well, I take care of myself. I pay my own bills. I do my work for myself and try to be a good person in the world. So if a mass group of people fell out of my life because they decided I wasn't living in the box that they want me to live, it'd be sad, but I'd still be okay because I am so okay being on my own, if that makes sense. I'm less dependent on other people's approval of what I'm doing because I approve of what I'm doing and I enjoy spending time with myself. So even if a mass decluttering of people happened out of my life, which it won't, but I'm just not dependent on this outside approval as much as I used to be when I was younger, because I am so content to spend time on my own and I have been single forever. It just matters less and less what people think about how I'm living alternatively. Moving on. What does my inner work entail? I've done some videos on this, and this could be like a whole long video in of itself, so I'll try to give just sort of like a bullet point summary of it. And it's gone through different phases of what resonates and what's needed. Initially, it was a lot of journaling, a lot of just voicing or like putting pen to paper how I felt, a lot of meditation, a lot of just letting myself cry, a lot of visualizing the inner child and holding the inner child, a lot of reading different books. I do have a video called 24 Teachers, Books, and YouTubers that have changed my life, and those have been very tied to a lot of healing work if you want to check that out. A lot of sound bath type stuff, a lot of sitting in nature, and a lot of silence, because I've talked about this so many times. When you're so distracted by so much stimulus, it can sort of create a block to really feeling your emotions. And for me, the biggest, most transformational thing of inner work has definitely been just to let it come out. And it comes out for me in extended periods of silence, and that's when the sort of emotional volcano will erupt. But just practicing detaching from those emotions and saying, okay, this needs to be held and honored like a small child who's crying, but knowing that it's not going to last forever, this feeling, and I just need to feel it to be able to release it. I would say those are the biggest things. And just practicing forgiveness for certain people who have caused me pain in their life, and just seeing that they have pain in their life too, and realizing that all the pain that's happened in my own life has always served a purpose for growth and even stepping into certain superpowers in a certain type of way. And so not begrudging things that have happened to me, but realizing that everyone's on their own journey and things happen for us, not to us. Number 11, will I be less extreme minimal in the future? No. There's no way. The only thing I would be open to is, I have talked about this like sort of dream down the line to own like an off-grid homestead, in which case, yeah, I would totally need more stuff like gardening tools or like things to preserve food. Those are all like really functional things. And I would absolutely be open to having those things if it meant being out of the system more and more self-reliant. But as far as like all of a sudden wanting more clothes or decorations or just gadgets and toys around the house, absolutely not. I am open to, I have said, if I am dating someone in the future and he does really want a table or like a couch to sit on, like, okay, yeah, I'm open to that. But to be able to have a like total maximalist home with a bunch more stuff in it, or even not maximalist, like still minimal, but like kind of a lot of stuff, it's just not for me, and I don't ever foresee going back to that. Number 12, how often do I do laundry? Clothing, once a week. I have a smaller type machine. I do one load on once a week. I mix colors and whatever, because actually I don't even really have whites in my wardrobe, but everything goes in together. I use, all my clothes are easy care, and I just wash on cold, one load once a week. I think that's totally reasonable. I have 2 bath towels and 2 hand towels, and so I do wash my towels like every 2 weeks. And then my bedding, not that much, because I have pillowcases. It came with an extra set, so I rotate those through, and then after a little bit, I wash my sheets maybe every like 4 weeks, which sounds like not a lot, but I am a nighttime showerer. That's hard to say. I take showers at night before bed. I have to have a shower before I go to bed, even if it's like I got home super late, which doesn't really happen any day this much anymore. It's like an energetic thing. I need to be clean getting into bed and wash the day off of me. So if I'm completely clean getting into bed, I don't think my sheets are getting that dirty, so I don't need to wash them that often. Number 13, do I celebrate Christmas or other holidays? I'm not anti-holiday, but I don't get super into them. My family's big into Christmas, and so oftentimes I will go home around that time and celebrate with them. If you know me, I don't love the gift thing, and I try every year to say, please don't send me or give me anything. I don't need anything. But I think the part of Christmas where it's like get together with loved ones and share beautiful meals and have gratitude, or like Thanksgiving, having total gratitude for everything in your life, I think that's all wonderful. Halloween, I like the part of Halloween that's where it says like the veil is thin, so like tapping into the spirit world in that way. That's a little woo-woo for some people, but as far as dressing up for Halloween, I mean, I was a performing artist. I used to dress up for a living for a decade. Like, it's not super exciting to me to dress up, so I don't get into it that much. And then other holidays, I would say New Year's Eve is my favorite. I've talked about this before because I think it's the best like spiritual fresh start to like go into the portal and set really strong intentions for how you want to transform and grow as a human. So New Year's Eve is actually my favorite holiday for that reason. Number 14, what am I doing with my finished YouTube journal? Oh, this is from Mark. Hi, Mark. What am I doing with my finished journal that I just completed that had all of my YouTube creative stuff in it, and the magazine that I just bought before that picture on the back that had the Nordic poem on it. The magazine, I still plan on reading it. I'm actually saving it for the next plane ride I go on to because I'm like savoring it because it's like this historical special on Vikings and I'm stoked to read it. But I love the poem on the back so much, and it's just this beautiful picture. Here, I'll show it to you. Why not? We're back. It's this poem. Go you must. No guest shall stay in one place forever. Love will be lost if you sit too long at a friend's fire. I love the poem and I love just the picture of it. So I'm going to keep it. It's going to live, even after I read it, it'll probably just live on that wicker basket with my plant. Just because I like the aesthetic of it. The journal, even though it was like the birth of this amazing experience on this channel and there was poured with creative ideas, do I plan on keeping it? No, it's already recycled. I just don't feel the need to hang on to it or go back to any of that. It served its purpose and it was created in the moment, and it's already been recycled because I just don't keep old journals. Moving on, we've got our last question here. What is my view on, oh, this is a heavy one. What is my view on buying leather as a vegan? Okay, so this one's tough. For many, many years, I did not wear leather at all. And actually at the beginning of my vegan journey, when I had just watched Earthlings and something was awakened in me, and I was just so upset at what was happening in the world and my own behaviors. I had a bunch of leather handbags and they were like expensive designer ones, but I gave them away to friends that I knew would like them because I just couldn't handle having leather on my body. I gave away leather shoes and my leather jackets as well. I wanted nothing to do with it, and for many, many years I didn't buy it at all. And it wasn't until it was in 2020 I bought my pair of Blundstone boots. I was very conflicted about it and sat on it for 6 months. But the reason I went ahead and did that is because I was really upset also with buying synthetic materials for vegan leather shoes and then seeing them fall apart, even good quality ones. The polyurethane or other synthetic materials would chip and fall apart, or the shoe would just come apart, and then that shoe's ending up in a landfill after only a year or two. And that was really upsetting to me also because I know those materials do not break down in the environment and they're not healthy for the environment either. So I was really super conflicted on this, but I did decide to buy those Blundstone boots based on research of their durability. And then when I got them, how much they took away my foot pain, it felt like the best thing to do for the balance of the environment, because I didn't want to just keep sending synthetic shoes into landfills, and this is a high quality shoe that will last me a decade, maybe even more. And I do think there is a difference between buying a pair of leather shoes that will last me years and years and years and years, and I'm just wearing that one pair of shoes, versus eating animals every day, multiple times a day for years and years and years and years. That's definitely a different ecological footprint. But still, I know in the vegan community, many people would say I'm no longer vegan because I have this pair of leather shoes, and that's fine. I understand that. I'm still going to live in accordance with my ethics, and I will never eat meat again. That's just not going to happen for me. But this felt like the right overall balance for the environment to do. But especially with shoes, because they get the most wear and tear on them, for non-essential things, like I don't buy leather jackets, I don't buy leather belts, I don't buy leather purses. It's just shoes because they get the most wear and tear, and this is something that was it seemed to be investment for something that would be the best for the environment in the long run. But for me, but with like bags and jackets, there's plenty of other materials that are vegan friendly that do last forever and just don't get beat up like shoes do, if that makes sense. But for someone out there that's wanting to do better, I think if you want something that lasts, you could certainly buy leather secondhand. So at least that animal didn't die for nothing. And you're giving more life to something that already exists. I do think that is a better option as well. And then for me personally, when I did it, I'll be honest, it was with a heavy heart that I purchased those shoes, and I do still feel conflicts with it sometimes because it just doesn't feel totally right in my heart. But I think as modern humans, we're gonna have a footprint on this earth no matter what. So it's about trying to do your best. And for me personally, when I did buy those boots, I sat with them and did a ceremony and gave thanks, like deep gratitude to the animal or animals that gave their lives to these boots so that I may have life. And I check in a lot. I'll be on a hike and just be really connecting with the earth and be very thankful that I have these boots that let me climb a mountain, and then I'll give thanks to the animal that let me have these boots. If you are going to purchase it or use it, I think secondhand is always best, but shoes secondhands is not always the best because they'll still fall. If they're old, they can not last you as long. So it's really just about being as mindful as possible and coming back to taking only what you need and doing your best and seeing the bigger picture of things. Okay, that was a very long video for today, but hopefully it was interesting and enjoyable for you. If you want to, if you're curious about part 2 of these questions, it will be coming soon. And let me know in the comments if this sparks some inspiration for you or some food for thought. And other than that, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.